Welcome, everyone, to another special episode of Rangers Zed. This is the Round 3 Eastern Conference Final Preview episode. New York Rangers, Florida Panthers. We're here to talk about it. They start Wednesday night at 8 p.m. This is Monday night, so only about 48 hours to go for puck drop. This is Cousin Ed. I'm here with my co-host, Little Ed. What's up, buddy?
How we doing, fellas? Good to be here. We live to see another day, another round in the playoffs, and we're going to be here covering the whole round. So, looking forward to another grind on and off the ice.
And Coach Ed over there, what's up, Coach?
What's up, fellas? Exciting stuff.
What is this, the jazz hands?
I'm waving to everybody.
All right, and Nikki Bloggs has joined us. Thanks, Nikki, for joining us tonight.
It's good to be here. Thanks for having me, as always, fellas.
All right, so let's talk a little bit. We obviously recapped round 2 after game 6, but let's look ahead here at what the Rangers are going to do with their lineup going into game 1 Wednesday night. Everybody seems to be healthy, right? It looks like the news dropped that there was some flu bug that went through the locker room. It caught Hedl. It looks like it caught Kreider. He had a maintenance day. A couple other guys. I don't know if that's an excuse for their play in game 5, but it seems like everybody's ready to go. Wheeler healthy, he's in a full contact practice jersey. Hedl's ready to go. Rempe's ready to go. Brodzinski's ready to go. A lot of options, Coach. But it dropped today to practice today. Hedl was playing third line left wing. Cooley dropped to the fourth line, and he takes the spot that has been occupied by Rempe and Brodzinski. What do you think Laviolette's thinking by inserting Hedl there? And who knows if that's going to be the lineup, but assume it is. What is the thought process behind putting Hedl on the third line there?
I mean, obviously, he's just trying to get some more speed in there with some skill. Hopefully, he's able to be in on the forecheck. Again, I've got to trust the coaching staff and their choices to see who's dialed in.
Yeah, Nikki, you look at the third line for the Rangers, it's been a really effective line analytically. Number 1 in the playoffs, that line, Wenberg, Cooley, and Kakko in XG, which is pretty good considering that they only have 2 goals in the entire playoffs, Kakko and Cooley. One of them was a gimme turnover in the first round by Kakko. And then Cooley with the breakaway goal against Carolina. Other than that, nothing. You think maybe Laviolette's just trying to get some more offense out of that line by putting Hedl there, or what's your thought?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's an offensively, driven decision. It's the speed. It's a little bit of aggressiveness. I thought Hedl was perfectly fine in Game 3 in Carolina when he played. He probably would tell you himself he should have scored when he dangled Kochetkov in the third period. But I think he's, it's not a bad spot to put him in. I thought maybe they would leave Cooley where he was just because I thought Cooley's been so effective himself, but that line's played well. You mentioned the, expected goals. You're now putting a finisher on that line, a guy with a good shot and a good release in Hedl. So Wenberg being a first guy, Kakko playing a little more on the perimeter. Hedl's a player that'll be a little more incisive and play that straight line aggressive game. I think it's a good fit.
Coach Ed's just biting his tongue over there. But I'm kind of going to mimic what Coach said. I mean, I'm not 100% sold on, or I can't believe that he's up to speed, but he's been practicing with the team for a few weeks now. I know their practices are very competitive and high paced. Our friend Johnny Laz goes to the practices quite often, if not every single one. And he said he looks good. He looks quick. He's keeping up with the program and all that good stuff. So, I mean, hey, we've trusted Laviolette this whole time so far. So there's no reason to stop now. He's pushed all the right buttons. So he must see something that we don't, obviously, that we can't see. And I mean, I'm a little shocked. I'm sure you're going to talk about it at some point, but I figured they'd have Rempe in the lineup with the physical play of the Panthers.
Yeah, I think that this is game one, and this is a practice on Monday. So, Laviolette's been pretty coy since about halfway through the second round. I feel like he got a little more coy with his lineups, and he was playing games, dressing guys, bag skating guys who were in. So I'm not even sold that Heedle's going to start game one. Although I do like it. Obviously, I want Heedle to be healthy and contributing. I like the kid, and I feel bad for him. He's had a tough season. So hopefully he is able to play and it can bring some offense. But I agree with you. Florida is, they're a tough opponent, and they're very physical, and I hesitate to say dirty. Although I do watch a lot of their games here. I have a lot of friends that are Panthers fans, and, they play a dirty game. They play like clean dirty, if that makes sense. Coach Ed style, right? Like, little extra butt end in the corner or something like that. That's kind of their shtick. So I don't disagree with Rempe playing. I don't know though. I just got to trust Laviolette. He's pushed all the right buttons all year. So I'm with you guys. I don't really know who to play, but we'll trust the coaching staff.
I think what it affords the coaching staff is, they're not going to have to sit anybody in the third period this way. Cooley's definitely a trustworthy two-way player. I think he'll fit in on the fourth line. If anything, it takes away that fourth line stigma. I think Cooley will boost that line up a little bit. So as far as that goes, I think it'll allow him. He's probably anticipating a long series, so that'll give them the option to roll four lines a little more regularly. Even though I doubt Trocheck or anybody's complaining about double shifting.
It's a good point, and I think Cooley can kind of bring a little bit of what Rempe brings in that spot, right? He's a big
without a doubt.
So, I just think that you look at Florida and their top two lines. Alexander Barkov just won the Selke Trophy, and Anton Lundell.
Tell guys to not write in Old English, please. School is SCH.
Gaza hasn't been in these in a while, so I'm glad to see Gaza.
What's up, guys? What's up, buddy?
And Paul, our buddy Paul, wants you to go to explain exactly what clean dirty means. I think.
Yeah, I think put that on the next T-shirt. Clean dirty.
What clean dirty means is Mark Messier, Gordie Howe style hockey, where you're going to go in leading with that accidental elbow. It's going to be a physical game. You're going to come out black and blue if it's a 7-game series. There's no question. If you're in the game, you're going to come out black and blue. You're going to be taking ice baths.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's exactly what I mean. Just like that old school style. There's little things that you can do during the game, like to put a punishment on the opponent that is technically an illegal play and a very dirty play, but not really likely to be called in the playoffs. And Florida really knows how to tread that line, to avoid penalties and really put a beating on the opponent. They're not going out there, slashing people in the head, which is just dirty, right? Clean dirty is the little dirty plays that, no one notices. Dirty is like a Marty McSorley two-hander across the head, right?
I mean, I don't think Florida's got anybody. Even Kachuk plays a really tough, clean game. I watched him a lot last year. I don't see cheap shots.
No, he is not.
He's going to be physical.
It's not. You're going to hate him very soon, Coach.
I understand. I watch him a lot. He's not a slew foot type of guy, is what I'm saying. He's going to get in your face. He's going to go into the corner.
His fight with David Pastrnak?
Yeah, what about him?
Did you see when Pastrnak had his head against the ice that Kachuk was punching him in the back of the head while his head was on the ice?
Well, it was more the side of the head.
I mean, Pasta wanted that fight, and Pasta said it was a perfectly good fight. It was nothing bothered him about it. So
I get it. I think he's a dirty player in the vein of a Brad Marchand. I mean, that's what he is. If we don't hate Matthew Kachuk after the series, he's going to do his job, and the Rangers are probably going to win. Be honest.
All right, but you're not. Has he ever been suspended? I don't think he's a suspended type of player. I just think he is a player.
He was suspended in the playoffs, in particular.
When was he suspended? Yeah,
I believe 2020 in the bubble. especially. I mean, we take the bubble for what it was, but he watched from the press box one of the games they got eliminated in, and that was the complaint about him in Calgary, right? Was that he didn't know where the line was, that he couldn't walk the line effectively. But I think he's come a long way in that regard. The coach's point, he's going to walk that line, give that little extra. I do think they come off, while they're a very tough group and they play right on the edge, and things like Sam Bennett's hit on Marchand last round was maybe over the line. I think that's part of their MO. They're also still going to be focused on winning the game, though. At the end of the day, that's the other thing I've noticed about them. They seem to put the shenanigans aside when it's down to it.
I think the big issue is going to be protecting Shesterkin and not letting these guys get near the blue.
Yeah, Coach. I just Googled Matthew Tkachuk's suspension, and here are the search results. Matthew Tkachuk ejected after double minor penalty. Matthew Tkachuk is a rat and needs to be suspended for this. Matthew Tkachuk suspended 2 games for high sticking Jonathan Quick.
I saw that one.
I mean, it just keeps going. Matthew Tkachuk fined for he's a dirty player. You know, Sam Bennett, dirty player. They tread that line. They really do. Trouba's that kind of a player, and he just has been clean with it. But he's that physically imposing guy. You know, he's going to slash you and stuff like that. I feel like he's.
You said it before. We worship Messier like he's a god, and he was one of the dirtiest players in the NHL.
Dirtiest players ever. Yeah, one of the dirtiest players ever. So he's going to be a rat for sure, Tkachuk, and he's going to try and get under their skin. And let's see how the Rangers respond. You know, I have a feeling we're going to see a lot of Matthew Tkachuk possibly on Artemi Panarin in the series. And based on what Panarin did to TJ Oshie in the first round, I don't think Panarin will back down. We'll see, though. I don't know. I mean, I'm curious how Florida's going to match up with the Rangers lines. Barkov can't play against the Zibanejad line and the Panarin line. So we're going to bring on a guest soon and, you know, who covers the Panthers, and we'll talk to them about, you know, maybe Florida's outlook on the Rangers and how they might approach the Rangers lines. But I was saying before, Florida has 2 good defensive centers in Lundell and Barkov, and they really focus on shutting down offensive talent. So I think part of the reason you put Hedl in is you need a third line that can score. You just can't have 2 lines that score and that's it against a team like Florida. But anyway, let's talk Igor Shesterkin versus Sergei Bobrovsky. I see a lot of people saying this is kind of a wash, the matchup. Am I being a homer and saying that's crazy?
I mean, I think a wash is fair. I think they're probably the 2 best goalies left standing in the playoffs, not named Jake Ottinger. And I think Bob, after last playoff, proved himself quite a bit. And he's played well in the playoffs before in Columbus, too. And he carried everything over from last year into this regular season and through the first 2 rounds. I mean, I think it's pretty fair. It's not going to be Shesterkin versus Frederik Andersen.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, I wouldn't call it a wash. I think Igor, without being too much of a homer myself, definitely has the edge. But I heard that on the radio all day today also, so they're definitely not homers. But at the same time, if Bobrovsky's on, then it does become a wash. But the same thing I said all series against Carolina, they have to pepper Bob with shots. Because if he lets in that 1 goal and people are getting in his face and causing havoc in the crease and things like that with a lot of shots and a lot of traffic and Kreider in front, whatever, that's when he's going to start to lose his focus. That's where Igor gets separated from everybody else, I think, right now. Igor's dialed in. He lets in a goal. He's going to do everything he can not to let in the next one. I think Bob is a little bit looser mentally. And I think if the Rangers really get in his head, pepper him a little bit, put in a few garbage goals and things like that, he's going to start to lose control.
I mean, let's face it. He's a Vezina Trophy winner as well. He's a bona fide number 1 goalie, all-star, the whole 9 yards. But the key to me, I mean, I watched that game 7. That was game 7 against Boston, right?
6.
And if you guys watched it, Lundqvist went over a lot of technique flaws in Bobrovsky.
Yeah.
And I'm going to guess that Benoit Allaire is going to go over that with the coaches, and they'll be ready to shoot in certain ways, and I'm gonna guess that's gonna be a positive thing for them, because if Lundqvist acknowledges it, Allaire's gonna know that for a fact, for sure.
Yeah, I just think that Bobrovsky's a really good goalie, and obviously last year he had an incredible run in the playoffs. But he comes into this series with a 902 save percentage. Igor's at 923. That's a significant difference, over a sample of hundreds of shots. It's not like a small difference. And the Rangers get constantly killed on analytics. Every article I read about this series is Florida, is going to dominate. They're a better team. The Rangers can't keep up the pace. Same thing we read about Carolina. And it bothers me, to an extent. I know it shouldn't bother me because the Rangers are probably better off being underdogs and they feed off that. But it bothers me. It's like a lack of respecting. So if you're going to kill the Rangers on analytics, then you have to look at the analytics for goalies. And let's look at that, right? Let's look at the goals saved above expected. Igor Shesterkin is second in the playoffs in that, with not over 9 goals saved above expected. So he saved the Rangers 9 goals in this playoffs. Only Jeremy Swayman is higher for Boston. I'm looking for Bobrovsky. Yeah, he's 5th on the list, but he's got 4.38. That's almost 5 goals saved above expected less. So yeah, he's good, but he's not a wash with Igor Shesterkin.
I think in watching them though, he's not faced a lot of shots, right? I mean, in game 4 against Boston, where they won on the controversial, goalie interference thing, or not, or tied the game rather, I believe he gave up 2 on 20 shots. He's just not that busy. He was busier against Tampa, and he made a couple of unbelievable saves, particularly that one where he's flipping his back around and he hits the blocker on it. I think he's not been, the Bruins series changed his numbers a bit to be a little fair to him. I mean, he gave up 6 in game 1, right? And that, seems to have inflated some of the stats. But I hear you. I mean, listen, I put my faith in Igor anytime, anywhere, any place. I don't care. I have a lot of faith in that. I think it's going to be an interesting series from the standpoint of the two of them are really high caliber goaltenders, and the teams I think they match up differently than how the Rangers and Carolina matched, where Carolina's style, they're relentless on the puck. Florida's just much more ferocious. But I think Florida's pretty calculated, would be the way I talk about them. I think they're aggressive, but they play the game a little differently and perhaps a little smarter than the Canes do.
I love that. Carolina's relentless, but Florida's ferocious.
I'm borrowing. I should attribute that to Larry Brooks because he tweeted it himself, but I think he's right. In that Florida plays a nastier game than Carolina does, but they play a very aggressive game.
Yeah.
2 strikes against you, Nikki.
Quoting Larry Brooks?
Heedle and Larry Brooks.
Brooksy's in the know. I trust Brooksy.
Get ready for the curveball, Nikki. Get ready for the curve. You got 2 strikes.
Yeah, I mean,
I got to protect and go the other way.
Little Ed, we talked about Carolina before the series about how they don't scare us, and look, the Rangers dispatched them in 6 games. Carolina's a good team. Don't get me wrong, but Florida is a different animal. Do you agree with that, or do you think it's similar? Do you think playing Carolina kind of prepares the Rangers for Florida? What are your thoughts going in about the matching up with Florida?
Yeah, our fan poll kind of said something similar just now. I'll throw that up on the screen, but I think the Rangers got knocked down a peg for sure with the series against Carolina. They kind of relearned what it was like to lose, and I'm sure they didn't like the feeling they had in the locker room afterwards. So I think they're going to be well prepared. They have the nice layover or the layoff, whatever, time off between series. So obviously Laviolette has them at practice, the whole coaching staff, like we just said, with Benoit Allaire and stuff. But really, to answer your question, yeah, Panthers are going to bring an aggressive game. Matthew Tkachuk is going to be all over the place. Sam Bennett. They have a lot of good players. They have a lot of strong players that play similar styles. I mean, they're being led by Matthew Tkachuk. And then we haven't even mentioned Barkov yet. He just won the Selke Trophy, so
I mentioned
pretty solid defensive forward, but we haven't talked in depth about him.
I think I cut him off before.
Oh. So, yeah, I mean, it's a much different style. I think the Panthers are a much better team. The 2 best teams in the Eastern Conference are left in the playoffs, I think, for the first time in a while. There's no upsets, really. So, So it's going to be a phenomenal series. And the Rangers are going to have to match that intensity, no doubt. The physical play, they got to keep doing that. They started to veer away from that in the 2 games that they lost to the Hurricanes. And if they don't bring a physical game, the Panthers are going to make them look silly, and they're going to bully them around the ice. So the Rangers have the guns to do it. They just got to step up and stick up for themselves, with or without Rempe in the lineup.
Yeah, Coach, do you echo those thoughts? I mean, do you think the Rangers are going to really need to get some power plays towards the end of the Carolina series? The refs kind of put the whistles away. You think that's going to continue? And if it does, how do you think that bodes for the Rangers in the series?
I mean, I think they're going to be fine. It's going to be a very competitive series. I think, to me, the 3 keys are the 2 games we lost to Carolina. The Rangers played horrible covering the open man without the puck. Those are 2 big games where they just were horrible. They got to get in Bobrovsky's face, and they got to keep Kachuk and Bennett and that other guy that always kills them. What's the guy, Langley or whatever the hell his name is?
Lomberg.
Yeah, Lomberg. He's back in the lineup. It's going to be.
Yeah, I'm not worried about him. I mean,
I'm not talking about scoring. Listen to what I'm saying, please.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Talking about keeping him out of Igor's face and aggravating Igor, distractions. That's what I'm talking about.
I'm with you.
Because Carolina did it. Igor got a little carried away here and there, but he held his cool in the long run. But that's going to be key, because that's going to be Kachuk's. Their whole mantra is going to be getting that paint. They do it to every goalie.
Well, how do we feel about the Rangers defenseman's ability to do that?
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's going to be the key. Without the puck, what they're doing to hold those guys out of the paint. That's a big key. It's got to be done early. Not early in the game. I mean, they have to get that guy early and control that area more.
Is there a reason you keep saying key?
Well, he actually did pretty good with it in that last game, I got to say. He's like, I'm saying he's at about 65 to 70%. He definitely can improve, but I watch him, and he's got to be better. He's got to be better. We can't rely on just Trouba doing it.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, one of the biggest surprises for me, and maybe it shouldn't be, is I was looking at the stat totals and who, did well last series and whatnot. And, Adam Fox has no goals and 4 assists in these playoffs. He's clearly injured, in my opinion. I'm sure you guys agree. Hopefully this rest has healed him up. But, I mean, how important is he going to be moving forward? I mean, now we're talking about the best of the best, If they're lucky enough to beat Florida, they're going to get Dallas, or Edmonton. So they're going to need Adam Fox on this journey.
Or
Do you think they're going to get – or Vancouver. Okay. Do you think they're going to get a healthy I'm discounting Vancouver, right? Do you think they're going to get a healthy Fox at any point? Nikki, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think you could see he's not quite himself. But having said all that, I think when they've needed him to channel his best game, he's done it. And he did it against Carolina in game 1 on the power plays they scored on. Game 2, I mean, it made a couple of sublime passes, including the one to Lafreniere for the second goal. And in game 6, really that whole third period was the top line, or the Kreider, Zibanejad, Roslovic line, Panarin and Trocheck on the power play, and Fox on the power play, creating a lot of looks, keeping their feet moving. So it felt like that last 20, he had whatever charge he had in his body, he emptied it out there. So I think he's trying to manage himself too through these games. And, I hope that we don't look back at the Nick Jensen play as something that, haunts us years from now. But I feel good about the rest he got, to your point. I like the way the D pairs finished the series against Carolina with the switch that Laviolette made. And I hope that Fox can be, all systems go here.
Yeah, Coach, during the season, how many times did you comment that, Sam mentioned the Rangers defensemen had like 100 points or whatever it was, right? Like they were first or second in the league in points. And, I'm going down the list here, and they're not really getting much from the back end points wise. They're getting some big plays, the Miller shorthanded goal, the Lindgren pass to Kreider on the game winner in game 6. Sure, they're getting some plays here and there, but just overall, not really a lot of points out of the back end. Do you think? I think that's a big story going into the series that's going to have to change. We can't even talk seriously on this podcast because of Gaza. But
my feeling is this. I mean, I get what you're saying, but again, Laviolette was saying it in his press conference one of them I was watching. Everything gets magnified in the playoffs, like I've been saying for a long time. So yeah, a lot of teams had defensemen who were high in points, but that doesn't necessarily carry over into playoffs because everything gets tighter. The Rangers power play is not going to go 50% like it did in the first 2 games versus Carolina. It's always going to be a normal, the other teams, to quote Poppy, are trying real hard. Carolina's got an excellent kill. Florida's got an excellent kill. It's not going to come easy. It's going to be working. You might get 2 out of 10. You might get 3 out of 10. You're not getting 5 out of 10. It's not very. If they do, that's phenomenal. I doubt. Look at Minnesota. Look at Edmonton the other night. They were an unstoppable power play. Vancouver killed a 2-man advantage and like 4 power plays. It's not going to happen over the course of 7 games where generally it's not going to happen where you're going to dominate. I mean, I hope they do, but I doubt it's going to happen because you got Barkov on the kill. It's like we said one time years ago, the 3rd and 4th liners were the penalty killers. Now it's the skilled guys out there. They anticipate better. They know what's coming. They know where the puck's going. Their thought process is different. They know what the other team's going to do because they would be doing the same thing. So it's very difficult to keep at that pace, especially when it's a tight series.
Yeah, and the Panthers, a good penalty killing team. They're 3rd in the NHL in the playoffs with an 86% kill, which is good. The Rangers, as good as they've been, are 89, right? So Panthers are not they're a good defensive team for sure. Rangers power play, that's going to be a matchup. They're 3rd in the NHL on the power play behind Colorado and Edmonton. So yeah, I'm looking forward to, some fairly called games. Hopefully they don't call a bunch of ticky-tacky stuff both ways and mess with the flow of the game, but you want to make sure that, a Brent Burns cross-check to the back that breaks a stick, results in a penalty, stuff like that. I'm sure both fans of both teams are going to complain about that. But all right, so we got a guest here. He's kind enough to join us, Rod Peterson from the Cats and Bolts pod. Let's bring him on and let's talk some Panthers so you guys out there can hear from someone who knows more about the Panthers than we do, what we can expect in this series.
What's going on,
Hey,
boys?
Rod.
Hey, Rod. Well? Thanks. Welcome.
Good to see you.
Good
welcome,
to see you,
man.
Too.
Welcome.
You can hear us all good? Everything good?
Everything's fantastic. Let's go.
Awesome.
All right. So, thanks for joining us. We wanted to bring someone on here to kind of talk about Florida. They've had a hell of a season and obviously, very similar in the playoffs to the Rangers, winning in 5 and winning in 6. So what is the mood around Florida Panthers fandom going into the series? Are they a little nervous about the Rangers? Do they think they're going to walk the Rangers? Where are you guys at?
Okay, well, don't include me with them because they've been thinking they being the Panthers fans, they believe the Panthers are going to win the Stanley Cup. And the only reason they didn't last year was because of injuries. That's the narrative. The team spun that a little bit, and the fans believed it. And by the way, how many Eds do we have on this call? Do I count 3? Are there more? 3? Okay,
3.
3 Eds and a Nicky right now.
Say Ed, and I'll hit them all. Thanks, Ed,
That's
for the
question.
I think it's so nice that we're all pleasant at the start of the interview and everything. And it's like halfway through this series or maybe after, you'll be swearing at me like the Bruins fans. I hope that's the way that it goes. I hope there's some bad blood and something exciting about it. But you said we would get to my prediction. We'll save that. But let's just put it this way. The Panthers, yeah, they're looking way past. They're already talking about playing Vancouver in the final. And that's just Panthers. That's not me.
Yeah, I feel like, I've been poking around online and Panthers fans really just think they got this in the bag. And look, I get it. You're confident when you get this far, you're confident in your team. We're confident in the Rangers' ability to win the series too, and whatever. Like you said, I'm sure there'll be some bad blood during the series. We're in a dynamic where there really isn't any bad blood. I feel like Panthers and Rangers fans, I don't really have any bad blood with Florida. I don't know if you guys agree. Do you? I mean,
not yet.
Nothing yet.
I'm with Rod. I'm looking forward to having him on for the series recap, and we'll see how it goes for sure.
Give it 2 weeks.
Careful what you wish for.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to some good, clean, hard hockey.
Well, I don't know if it'll be clean. I mean, we just did our preview today. It's going to drop tomorrow, and I talked about Matt Rempe, and my wife actually hosts the show with me, and her thing was, who's going to stand up to Rempe? She's like, there isn't one single guy on the Panthers lineup that's big enough to do it, and Ryan Lomberg is literally half his size. And I don't know how much ice time he's going to have or what kind of impact he's going to have, but I feel like something's going to happen. I mean, the Panthers do have some guys that like to mix it up. You watched last series, Sam Bennett, Matthew Tkachuk, and then Lomberg got in for the series clincher, Game 6. I'd have him in the lineup every night, but Paul Maurice feels differently. Lomberg's only played 2 games. But I love I'm like you do too, probably, the cat and mouse of every single thing that goes into a playoff matchup. It's how the lineups are drawn up in the morning to line matchups during the game. You name it. It's not just one on the ice, right, guys?
Well, you bring up the line matchups. I was actually thinking that in terms of the home team obviously has the advantage. Obviously, you have Barkov, who just won the Selke Trophy for best defensive forward, right? So, I mean, in your mind, who do you think Paul Maurice is going to set out for Barkov to shut down, I guess? Or what line matchup would you look?
I'm not sure that they will try to do that. They have so much confidence in themselves. You know what I mean? I know exactly what you're saying, but it's, again, we did our series preview, and I gave the check mark in this series to the Panthers forwards. She gave them to the Rangers forwards. It's
Rod, if your co-host is around, she's welcome to join us as well.
No.
We didn't mean not to invite her.
No. It's all good. She's got a big enough head. I said it was my wife, as it is. So no, it's fine. I'm just saying it's close call in terms of, I think they're obviously 2 very good hockey teams, and I don't know that you put out Barkov to shut down anybody. I mean, yeah, he's the top defensive player in NHL. One has the hardware to prove it, but it's just they attack. You wanted to talk about, Eddie, you said the Panthers style. They're an attack-based team. They're not a defend-based team. The only line they'll put out to defend somebody or shut somebody down is the 4th line. And even that rotates game by game by game. It's not the same 3 guys.
Yeah, that's interesting. Let's see, because the Rangers obviously split up Zibanejad and Panarin. So, do you want to, if he does match the lines at some point in the series, is he going to go Barkov against that line, or is he going to go against the Zibanejad line or against the Panarin Trocheck line? So it'll be interesting to see.
I don't know that it's any more of like shadowing a line. I think it's like you said, Rod, that they're going to put Barkov out there, and knowing he's a responsible 2-way player, they're going to put him out either against Panarin or against Zibanejad, and they know it's going to get done, for the most
Either
part.
way,
Yeah.
So I don't think they're going to key, and I'm sure their second line is equally as, when you're a good coach and you have a good defensive structure, you could pretty much put anybody out there.
Yeah.
In my opinion,
what hasn't changed in 20, 30 years is they don't like to say it, but it's still a first line, a second line, a third line, a 4th line. They want to say top 6, top 9, bottom 6, bottom whatever.
Middle 6.
Right. That's not that. You don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. You're still going to start somebody. You're still going to designate who your top line is, and they'll go against our top line. And when you roll out your second line, we're going to roll out ours. That's how I think it's going to go, especially at this time of year. Because they're not going to roll 4 lines, right? The games are going to dictate that. But I don't totally get into the matchups as much as a lot of people. Like in game 2 here, the last series, the Bruins spanked the Panthers 5-1 in game 1. And then the Panthers were languishing for the first period in game 2. And that's when Maurice mixed up all his lines, lost his mind, and the Panthers never looked back in the series, really. They started, and all it did was Pomo was pissed off. He just lit a fire under him. I don't believe it was a strategic thing. That's just my opinion on.
Have you seen all the AI videos of his press conferences that have come out?
The only one I've seen
They're so funny.
is Jim Montgomery's, which was hilarious. Game 6, I think, 5 or 6. Paul Maurice's are funny enough. You don't need to.
Yeah, it's true. No, but the ones the guy's dropping about with Paul Maurice are just gold, man. Because you're just watching it, you're like not sure. Like, is this real? Because he might have said this. Like, he's wacky, Paul Maurice. Good coach though.
Great coach.
Who's someone on Florida that maybe the fans don't know his name very well, and is just a really effective guy who they're going to notice in this series, you think, outside of the Kachucks and the Barkovs?
That's the thing. It's tough to think about it from your perspective, because here, the guys that have been getting the pub all year are not secrets anymore. Like Sam Reinhart in 58 goals or whatever it was, right? Barkov wins the Selke. Matthew Tkachuk was a finalist for MVP of the Hart last season. I don't know that any of these guys are real secrets anymore. Maybe Sam Bennett. I mean, he's public enemy number 1 in Boston, but have they realized in New York yet that Sam Bennett's coming to take somebody's head off? He can score. He scored the game winner in game 4. So my guy would be Sam Bennett, but I'm not sure how much your fans know about him.
Yeah, well, I think we see what's going on, and right, Coach. I mean, we saw the punch to the face, the Brad Marchand that he got there, the sucker punch, and
yeah, I mean, it's playoff hockey.
Yeah, I agree.
You give and take. You give and take.
What about a guy like? Because I actually live down in South Florida, so I can kind of prompt this. I feel like this is someone the Rangers fans would know, like a Gustav Forsling. Like I feel like a guy like him stands out to me. That most fans aren't going to understand how good he is, and he reminds me a lot of Jacob Slavin. Like that kind of a style, like a fast defenseman, really good defender, gets in on the rush, good on the boards, to keep it in, and he's just really effective. Is that somebody you think maybe?
Oh yeah,
doesn't get enough.
First, where do you live in South Florida?
I live in Miami. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Down in the I'm up in Boca Raton with all the old people, so it's nice and quiet. Everybody's there already.
Yeah, you got more space out there. It's all right.
Yeah. I would say Forsling would be an under the radar guy as much as a guy that just signed an $8.5 million deal midway through the season could be. Like Bill Zito certainly knows his worth. And he has a tendency to score big goals. I mean, that's the one thing. It's funny because Paul Maurice addressed the media today, and this is what a lot of people don't understand unless you've been here following this team. They asked how it feels to go on the road to start the series. He's like, we don't mind. Our guys love being together. And he goes, and by the way, that was going on long before I got here. Eddie, I don't know how long you've been living here or following what the Panthers got going on, but they've had a really good culture since I showed up. And that was 3 seasons ago. Paul he's said it. And you can tell he's a very humble guy. He's like, I'm not taking any credit for anything here. I just didn't want to screw it up. This has got a great culture. And then clearly I think the Rangers do too. That's the one thing I would like to have one of you guys address, because the Panthers fans they're overestimating the Rangers. And I said, guys, the Rangers have been knocking on the door for quite a while, longer than the Panthers have. You fired Quinn because you couldn't get it done. You fired Gallant because you couldn't get it done. You know what I mean? Like, I feel it's more their time than the Panthers. But if I told them that here, they would think I was nuts.
Stop listening to your show. I got a few questions for you in the comments here. I'm going to try to get to all of them.
Sure.
We spoke a little bit about the goalies before you came on. It seems to be around the league that Igor might have the advantage. We wanted to get your thoughts on that. And I lost the comment. Where'd it go? Oh, here it is. Paul wants to know if you expect this to be a low-scoring series because of the two elite goalies that are in these
Yeah.
games.
Yeah, I mean, I think defense wins. I still do. And whether it's the goaltenders or defensive style, it was a 2-1 game last game for the Panthers, the clincher. Your games, obviously, against Carolina were wild and pretty high scoring, but I'm a goalie guy. I was a goalie. I'm a Bob lover. So take that for what it's worth. I might be a little biased. When we did our check marks, she gave hers to Shesterkin and the Rangers. I went with Bob. I mean, I crunched all the numbers today for our show. Bob's got the 10th best GAA in these playoffs. Shesterkin's not even in the top 10. He is 11th. But one goals against average is Joseph Wall, and he's not even playing, with the Leafs. So the numbers this time of year don't mean as much as the regular season. I'm going to give the edge to Bob. I've seen Bob at his best. He's a 2-time Vezina winner. I mean, I guess Shesterkin's won the Vezina too. But all I can say is I think it's going to be a long series because they're two very, very good teams that have a very, I wouldn't say similar style, but similar stats. The one real glaring lopsided category is the defense. And you guys all know who the Blue Shirts defensemen are. The Panthers, every year it's different. Like Oliver Ekman and Larson is new. Montour's not here, and Ekblad's not new. But Ekblad struggled. He's struggled mightily in these playoffs. And I think that it's the Rangers going away have a vastly better blue line. And if Shesterkin does happen to outplay Bob, it might not be a long series.
I got
That's an
one
interesting.
for-
That's an interesting point. That's
Sorry,
an
go ahead.
interesting point. But I thought they were talking about before that last game. Didn't Forsling? Doesn't Forsling play with Ekblad?
Yeah, they mix it. They only play one defenseman on the point in the power play. So they got.
I'm saying, but they were not out for any goals against or some crazy stat they said.
Yeah, I'm not. Again, I have my own stats.
You might be thinking of Tanev on Dallas, Coach.
No, it was the other night because Jackie Redmond was talking about it, and I watched every
You catch
word.
all those comments.
But yeah, don't we all?
I mean,
But
Ekblad, I think it's clear Ekblad's been up and down, though. I mean, he takes bad penalties and bad moments. He's done it a few times these playoffs. He's kind of their Trouba, I think, where the fans of the Panthers are kind of like, this guy stinks, get him off the team. And that's like a lot of Rangers fans on Twitter do about Trouba, but he has an importance to the roster, obviously. He's one of the longest tenured Panthers at this point, right, Ekblad? I think.
Yes, since Huberdeau was dealt, I'm pretty sure him or Barkov, and I'm pretty sure Ekblad was here first. 2014 was his rookie season. I believe he went number 1 overall.
Yeah.
So
Been there a long time.
I think with Ekblad, you got to be careful criticizing him because it'll upset a lot of the fan base and probably the team too. But we all watch the games. I mean, Coach, you talked about that stat, and I'm not sure what that stat was. I mean, I've called play-by-play in Canada for 31 years before I came down here. So I just have my own stats that I go to that mean a lot to me. And, power play, penalty kills, one, you guys talked about that early, or goals against average, and penalty minutes. I was shocked that Ekblad is 9th in penalty minutes for the Panthers because it seems he's in the playoffs because he's always taking a bad penalty at an inopportune time. It seems like he's doing it every and he's only got 10 minutes in penalties. So his mistakes have been glaring. And it's interesting you brought that up about Trouba because I'm a huge Trouba fan. But saw what he was doing with the Winnipeg Jets. He's your captain, isn't he? I mean, he's a big reason why the Rangers should win this series.
Wow, a little sneak preview to your prediction, I guess. But
Sorry, stop, can't help myself. Yeah,
I got a question regarding what you mentioned earlier. Kevin Shields wants to know why Florida fans think Vancouver is just going to beat Dallas.
I can't.
Well, never mind that. They're going to beat the Oilers tonight. The Panthers fans are saying.
I don't know, man. They've been talking about that for I don't even want to say who, but people like that work for the team have been talking about who the Panthers are going to meet in the Stanley Cup final, and it'll probably be Vancouver. And I'm like, I don't want any part of that conversation. You're asking me why they feel that way? I don't know. I'm a one game at a time guy. That's just the way that they are. But, I think it's a little like Vancouver. And by the way, that would be a hell of a series because neither one's won a Stanley Cup. I just think that until you've won, you don't know what it takes to win. So you say very outlandish things. That would be my answer to that.
That's a good one.
I just came up with that myself. Thanks, Coach.
All right, we're gonna have to write that one down.
Coach, you got any questions for
All
our
right.
guest?
So give
I mean,
Oh,
I think
go,
getting back
Coach.
to the goaltenders, I watched Bobrovsky in the playoffs last year and this year, and just incredible. I think he's more of an acrobatic kind of goalie. I think I see him getting caught out of position a little bit more often than he should. But the thing with him and Shesterkin, I see, tell me if you see the same thing, is when they do lose and let up a lot of goals, they come back the next game and they can forget quick. And that's the key. Everything is between the ears.
It's all mental. That's the thing with Bob. He has this outlandish style, and I just love watching him because you never know what he's going to do. It was game 2 against Tampa Bay when he robbed Matt Dumba and he made that acrobatic sprawling behind the back save, which I believe, again, Bob fan here, was the greatest save in Stanley Cup playoff history, maybe hockey history. And the one that came to mind was Dominik Hasek. Did the same thing in the 90s. I think it was with Detroit, did a backward somersault and knocked it. You're not going to see Shesterkin do that. I mean, I haven't been able to see him play live as much as I'd like Shesterkin, but I heard a scout refer to him as a hovercraft, that he just hovers. He never gets out of position. He just hovers, very much in control. But to me, that's just the difference in styles. And I'm sure the Rangers players love Shesterkin, but I know the Panthers love Bob. Like, just watch in this series, every shift, guys are coming through the crease, having a word with Bob. He's swatting him in the shin pads, on the butt. They're very, very, very close. And I told you I played goal. It can't be 5 guys and a goalie. It should be a 6-man unit. And it is with the Panthers and Bob. He's played every minute. He will play every minute. And I think that's really important to a team's success. I really do. Like, a lot of teams keep rotating goalies every year. We all know who those teams are. And I just don't think you can do that and expect to have long-term success.
Rod,
last year, I'm sorry, Nick, go ahead.
It's okay, Coach. No worries. I was going to say, Rod, there's been a lot of talk up here in the New York area about what kind of Ranger fan turnout there will be at the games down in Florida. And there was a lot of controversy with the Canes and not wanting people from the New York area to buy tickets. And I'm not trying to get caught up in it, but I'm curious what the Panther fans thought is down there and just kind of picking their brain on, I know the first home game of the series down there will be game 3 Sunday. So what's the vibe like for that?
You mean the Ranger fans that root for Florida?
Yeah, well,
Sure.
the fans are used to it. But I just heard in the last 24 hours that the Panthers are doing the same thing now that they did last year against Leaf fans, and that's trying to block them out. And you can't buy tickets without a Florida billing address for your account. But I'm like, listen.
You know how you get around that, Rod? You have a nephew that lives in Miami.
Yeah. But I'm just going to say, you would think the Panthers would know this. We go to the games. The place is full of Rangers fans. And just listen, by the way, I don't have a problem with Rangers fans in the rink at all because there's no possible way they could be ruder than Bruins fans. That's bad. And in some of the blowouts last series, the Bruins fans were leaving early and Panthers fans were yelling, "Go back to Boston." And guys were yelling back, "I live here." I'm like, so what is the geo blocking going to do? The Panthers should know there's enough that live here to fill that rink and not even allow it. Yeah,
that's exactly what one of our guests just said. Shout out to Mike at Long Island Sports Network. So many New York transplants in Florida. Half the Ranger fans already live there.
Exactly. Yeah, if I know this, how do the Panthers not know this? But whatever.
Yeah. I guess if they could block out 10 to 20 people,
Ranger fans travel out.
Well, yeah, we're doing
Ranger
it
fans.
on Sunday.
They travel. They travel for games, and this whole Rangers. There's a lot of New York transplants, and Florida is true, and there's also a lot in North Carolina, and there's also a lot in Vegas, and there's also a lot in Texas, and the New Yorkers, that want a little peace and quiet, leave New York, and they go to other places where there's teams, and they keep their fandom. But I think it's going to be tough. I was reading something. It's like the road games aren't going to be like road games for the Rangers in this series. And I think there is a little truth to that. I think it might be close to 50-50. I've been to a lot of Panther games. Their playoff games got crazy. I went to one last year. So, they definitely are a good fan base. There's no question, but I think there's going to be a lot of Ranger fans there at these games. So,
yeah,
it just depends on who's really winning the game. You're going to hear, that's who you're going to hear, You
go to Rangers regular season games here. It feels like a couple of thousand Rangers fans there. There's only going to be more in the playoffs. So, hey,
yeah.
Again, my wife often says, if you don't like the other team's fans in the building, sell it out with your own fans. And the Panthers have been unable to do that. But that's not really a new thing. Like, I had a friend that owned the Arizona Coyotes for 5 years. They went through it there. It's something about Sun Belt, Sun destination teams. Like, literally get over it. It's kind of fun. But one thing, and Eddie, you could maybe confirm or deny this, but I've had friends here that say the diehard fans will pay $500 or more for a Heat playoff ticket, but they won't pay it for the Panthers. And I'm like, well, the games are full. The playoff
That's
games
true.
are full. They are paying it. And I guess we'll see how far it goes. But I just remember in the run last year, I'm looking around going, where do these people come from? Because I didn't see them all regular season. But they're paying $1,200 a ticket, so they're legit. I guess it just becomes a thing to do down here. I still don't totally know the mentality yet.
Well, I feel like South Florida is a very event-based culture. Anything that comes here, everybody wants to go to it. Formula One comes and everyone's like, let's go to Formula One. The US Open tennis comes, let's go to that. So that's how it is. So I feel like, when the Panthers are doing well, all of a sudden people start paying attention and now they want to go to games, but they don't want to go see, Florida versus Columbus in November. They don't care. That's not an event, right? It's just a regular night. So
yeah, it's an event to me.
I think that's what it is.
I guess not to them.
No, I'm with you 100%. And I do know a lot of Panther fans that will go to those games and do watch every game, so I'm not saying they're all like that. But there are a lot of fans that will just kind of cater to when they're good.
Rod, I got a question for you. Getting back to
Rod,
your boy Bob. The other night they made a comment. Lundqvist actually made the comment that method he uses of dropping his stick. And that was referred to as a Hasek-like maneuver. Also, does he know Hasek? Did he watch him? Is he one of his idols? What's that about?
I honestly would have to ask Bob that, but I don't like it. I don't like it.
Only because you mentioned the other move was a Hasek-like move too, where he spun around.
Listen, Coach, I'd have to go ask him because I've never seen him address that. Probably wouldn't be too hard to find on Google, but I don't like him doing it. Again, I was a goalie. You are going to get caught doing that. And I don't watch the intermissions. I flip it over to Bar Rescue or 2.5 Men. For my own reasons, I don't watch it. So I didn't see what Lundqvist said. But was he referring to trying to get a call on goalie interference while he drops his stick?
No. What he said was his method was drop the stick because sometimes it slows you down in getting the blocker over. So by dropping it, he was giving himself more freedom to get the blocker there quicker. It might get hung up in a player's shin guard or whatever.
Makes sense. Yeah. Well, to me, that's a bit of a stretch. But if Hank says it, I'll go along with it. But it seems like every single time he gets bumped in the crease, he's dropping his stick, and it ends up going to review. And sometimes they've got the call for goalie interference, and sometimes they haven't. The game winner in Game 5 here was a disputed goal that the Panthers challenged, which he got bumped and he dropped his stick. So that's what I thought you were referring to. But
it was a method of him making a save. Actually, I was referring to.
Honestly, man, when you say coach, did you coach hockey, Coach Ed?
I still do. Yes, I've been coaching
so-
for over 40 years.
Okay. So listen, go ask a goalie right now if you wouldn't mind picking up his or her stick. It weighs about 3 ounces.
I would not. If my goalie did that, I'd be screaming at him.
Right. But back in the day, those things were the size of trees.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Right.
Definitely. I have
So-
one in my garage.
Right. So if they weren't dropping sticks 40 years ago, why would they do it now? That's, when the sticks are light, they're light as a feather. So that's my only answer to that. If that's
Yeah.
a strategy, that's a new one by me. I don't think I'd do that.
Well, the other night in Game 6, I think he did it 3 times.
Yeah.
I don't really like that. I don't like that move because how many times do you see a shot hit the shaft of a stick or something and deflect? Well, I mean, you're just giving up a little bit of the net, but I get it.
As Lundqvist to Bob about it, it sounds like a very outlandish strategy to me. The only reason I think he's doing it is to get the penalty. And each time the other night, he was trying to get a penalty. I think one time he did. So that's all my take on that. I wish he wouldn't do it, and I think he's really going to get caught sometime. Because I've played without a stick. It's like playing naked. It's very difficult to do.
Yeah.
Rod, give me your prediction for the series before we let you go. I'm curious. What do you think? And you said it already. You think it's going to go deep. So I'm just curious what you got.
I got Panthers in 7. And to be honest, Rangers in 7. Way back at the start of the year, I just had a sense that the Panthers were gonna get to the Eastern Conference Final and lose. And I thought it was going to be against Carolina, but it happens to be against the Rangers. They got the check mark and a lot of the key categories, all of them according to Serena. I got Rangers in 7. She's got them in 6. You guys?
Wow.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think this one goes 7. I picked Rangers in 7 over Carolina, and they finished them off in 6. But I got Rangers in 7 as well. This is a true coin flip for me. With 2 really good teams. I think it's a coin flip if I'm being objective. So I think we pull it out in 7 at home.
Should be hell of
What
a.
about you?
I'm going Rangers in 6. I'm sticking with the confident Rangers in 6. No real explanation. I just think the Rangers got what it takes right now. They'll lose a game or two and they'll bounce back from it like they've done all season. And I think the rest is going to do them wonders. We spoke about it earlier with the injuries and stuff. The rest is going to do them wonders. Hopefully Fox comes back stronger. Even Trocheck was banged up a little bit, so he'll come back even stronger. I saw a record earlier. I don't know. They were like 9-1 after a break during the regular season, 4-0 after the All-Star break. Anytime they've had a little bit of time off, they were able to come out hot right away.
I got Rangers in 7 as well. I have a lot of respect for this Panther team. I think they're an excellent team. They're hard-nosed. The playoffs are really their speed. So I think it's going to be a long series, but I feel good about the Rangers getting it done on home ice. I think to Rod's point, and we've talked about this as well, guys, right? This Ranger team, members of it in particular, like Kreider and Mika and others have been around for a long time, have been knocking on the door, trying to get over the hump. And I've been hoping this was the year for a while now. And I just feel like they're going to find a way here. After they found a way the other night in Game 6, we got to believe.
Coach, before we sign off and wrap this up, what do you got?
I'm going to go. Look, if either team wins, it's not going to be an upset, obviously. I'm going to go because I'm a Rangers fan. I'll go Rangers in 6. I'm going to agree with Eddie.
Yes, I mean, I'd be shocked if this doesn't go 7, to be honest, but we'll see.
I don't think there's going to be any blowout.
I said the same thing with Carolina.
I don't think there's going to be any blowout games. I think it's all going to be kind of empty net goals or overtimes or stuff like that. I don't think it's going to be any 5-1 game or anything like that. I don't see that happening.
We have a very confident fan from Australia saying that the Rangers are going to sweep and win every game 6-0.
Yeah, that's not happening.
I think he had a few too many.
It's happy.
Too many Fosters over there.
Yeah. Look, like I easily like. I think
sure
this is such a close series matchup wise that, if all of us picked Panthers in 7 or 6, I don't think it would be crazy. It's really that close. The margins are that close, and maybe our bias is keep making us all pick Rangers. You pick the Rangers, which is pretty objective of you. I got to give you credit to be able to do that. I'm sure you're rooting for the Panthers, right?
Pretty much, but boys, so I appreciate the opportunity and have a good series.
Thanks, Rod.
You too.
Enjoy it.
Thanks, Rod. Thanks for joining us. We'll be in touch.
Please do.
Later. Thanks. That's Rod Peterson from the Cats and Bolts podcast. Check them out on Twitter or X at Cats and Bolts Pod.
Yeah, we didn't really get to talk to him. We didn't get to talk to him about not his personal life, but kind of what he does for a living. Maybe next time we'll have to see exactly what he does other than covering the Panthers podcast. I know he does radio and he also covers the Lightning.
Says he lives in Boca, so he's chilling. I mean, let's be real. He's not. He's chilling. He's having a good time. Boca's a nice area.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. I mean, sorry, I cut you off.
No, that's pretty much it. We didn't have a lot of time. We just wanted to cover the Panthers this time, but hopefully he'll join us again, and we'll get a little bit of a background. And we like to ask our guests, make them feel a little bit special, how they got to where they are and stuff like that. So I'm definitely curious.
Well, he said he was announcing hockey for 31 years in Canada.
Yeah, he also had a few name drops. He mentioned knowing the owner of the Coyotes. He breezed by a few things that we didn't really have a lot of time to ask him about.
Yeah, we'll follow up with him for sure. All right, any last thoughts, boys, before we sign off here?
Long Island Sports Network says he has a great broadcast voice.
I agree.
What do you think about Coach Ed's broadcast voice? Because he wants to be your next broadcaster.
No, I want to be a commentator.
Oh, color commentator. Sorry.
Yeah, you really could though. You'd be like Dave Maloney. I feel like Coach is Dave Maloney, and I don't know, maybe with 30 more pounds. But all right, boys. Well, it's going to be a good series. Hopefully we're right and the Rangers pull it out. Hopefully Little Ed and Coach Ed are right, so I don't have to watch a game 7 because the Oilers and Canucks are playing right now. And somebody said it earlier, if the Canucks lose, they're going to burn that city down. I really hope not, but they're known for it. So let's see what happens, Oilers Canucks. And we will drop the puck Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Get ready. We'll be here live after every game, win or lose, to give you guys our thoughts and recap the game. Thanks for joining us.
We'll be there Friday night, game 2. We'll be there Friday night, game 2. How about you, Nikki? What are you up to?
I will be there game 1.
Yeah, Nikki's got the opposite package that we have all season. We haven't lined up for a single game really.
Well, you better get us a shirt or shirts.
Yeah, you better get me one. They're going to get their shirt. See that NYC shirt? I don't have that.
No, you only get one if you go to game 1. They never have them at game 2.
Yeah.
Well, you got to get me one.
We did get you one. Why don't you relax?
We're very excited for
Wednesday. There we go.
Yeah, now we can sleep tonight.
All right.
What are you saying, Nikki? Sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, we're pumped for game 1, and I plan to go back for more of those viewing parties in the arena, too. Those were terrific.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Well, listen, it's the dice we roll every time, right?
Otherwise, you're crowding out MSG with how many fans? There's no hockey even being played, and they just lost.
Yeah,
you gotta get on the train.
Yeah, game 5 was pretty brutal. I can't imagine not even watching the game, really.
Yeah. Gotta roll the dice.
Actually, it might be better because watching them skate in slow motion in game 5 was pretty rough. But yeah, like Coach Ed said, we'll be at game 2 at the Garden. If you want to come find us up in section 317. And Cousin Ed, Coach Ed, and I will be heading down to Fort Lauderdale for game 3 on Sunday. And Mikey Produces with EA the PA will be joining us as well. So if you guys are in South Florida for game 3 and want to meet up with us before or after, shoot us a message. We'd love to meet up with you guys.
Yeah, I'll also be at game 4 as well.
Oh, you are? Nice.
Yeah, me, Eddie, and Dominic are going to be there. Lucarelli Law.
Oh, I thought you meant Dom was coming with us to the Sunday game. Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, so we'll be there
Have
for
fun.
game 4 as well. And then I think you guys will be at game 5 or 7.
Now
We're going to be at every game.
We have 7 if necessary.
We're going to have boots on the ground every game in the series. That's the reality. Because I think Nikki's got 5 then.
Yep.
Right? So that's guaranteed. And if it goes 6, I'm going. It's a Saturday. There's no way I'm not going.
Look at that. Boots on the ground, baby. I love it. And Theo. Theo's in the chat. Don't forget Theo. Theo's going.
Oh, yeah. Of course, Theo will be there. She's been watching the whole time. It's nice.
Let me ask you a question. What's
Lucky
the
man.
over-under on how many ice cream helmets you have at the end of this series?
I already got a few. I don't need any more of those. Although the Marlins make a new one every year. I had to get a new one when I went recently. But all right, let's sign off. It's already 9. I want to go watch this game. All right, guys. Enjoy the game Wednesday. We will join you after. Make sure you join us for the live show, and yeah, I'm ready to drop the puck. Let's do it.
Yeah, let's go. Love you guys. Thanks for supporting us always, fans. Talk to you soon.
Thanks, Nikki. Love you guys.
Thank you, Nikki.